You ever notice how the nice ones finish last? Not in some poetic way, actually last, in line. At work, in life, always waiting, always hoping decency will eventually pay off. It won't, because the world doesn't run on fairness, it runs on force. Let's get something straight. The people who move fastest in this world aren't the most honest. They're not even the most capable. They're the ones who play a different game entirely. Quiet, calculated, and cold-blooded. They understand a truth most people never dare to speak out loud. Power doesn't punish the ruthless. It crowns them. Think about who you've seen rise. The ones who leap ahead while you're still asking for permission. They smile in public, yes, but underneath, they're making moves while you're making peace. They say all the right things, but every word is a chess piece. You were taught to be fair. They were taught to win. You keep wondering why the world doesn't reward your integrity. Meanwhile, they're weaponizing charm like a mask, cutting lines you didn't even see. You're told fairness is strength. It's not. Fairness is a leash, a clever way to keep you predictable, while bolder, hungrier people walk right over you. This isn't about being evil. This is about refusing to be prey. It's about waking up to the battlefield you were born into. If you keep letting someone else's moral code dictate your actions, you'll always be playing defense in a game that has no referees. Look around you. History is not a collection of fair fights. It's a list of calculated victories. Every empire that still echoes through time was built on a foundation of power taken, never politely offered. You've been conditioned to hesitate, to check your heart before your hands, to think twice before you act. But here's the reality. Those who win move first. While you're debating if it's right, they're already cashing the check. And when the smoke clears, no one asks who played fair. They only ask who won. Machiavelli wrote for people surrounded by danger, people who didn't have the luxury of innocence. He gave them tools, not to become monsters, but to survive among them. And those tools still work. Not because they're cruel, but because they're real. You don't have to enjoy conflict, but you need to stop fearing it. Because while you wait for fairness to work, someone with less talent, less experience, and less conscience is walking off with your opportunities, just because they moved. People who win aren't always better. They're just less burdened, less afraid of judgment, less shackled by the illusion that if they're good enough, life will reward them. It won't. People don't respect your goodness. They respect your edge. Ask yourself, who benefits from your hesitation? Who climbs while you stall? Those people understand something you haven't fully accepted yet. Niceness is often just another word for easy to beat. It doesn't mean you become a villain. It means you stop being a volunteer victim. You're allowed to protect what's yours. You're allowed to act decisively even if it makes people uncomfortable. You're allowed to draw lines that don't get redrawn by guilt. True ruthlessness isn't noise, it's clarity. The best never yell. They don't argue. They simply move when it matters and leave others stunned. If you strike, you don't strike out of rage. You strike because the window was open and you didn't hesitate. A powerful person is not loud. They're inevitable. This doesn't mean stepping on everyone. It means knowing when someone's in your way and not flinching when it's time to move them. If you wait to be good enough to make bold moves, you'll wait forever. Because the world doesn't reward your patience, it forgets you. This is the cold truth, and you felt it. You've watched people who did half the work take full credit. You've seen the charming liar get promoted while you sit quietly hoping someone notices you. That's not bad luck. That's design. They played the game. You played nice. Machiavelli didn't teach cruelty for cruelty's sake. He taught efficiency. You don't cut everyone, just the right one. You don't make threats. You make examples. He spoke of leaders who didn't fear being feared, because fear, unlike love, doesn't fade when people get busy. It lingers, It enforces, it protects. You think if you're kind, people will return the favor. But kindness without strength is weakness. And weakness in power is a sin the world always punishes. History is a graveyard full of good people who couldn't fight back. There's no honor in being devoured. Look at the most effective rulers, those who ruled longest. They didn't lash out, they waited, they watched. They made one move that ended 10 problems. That's not cruelty, that's precision. In your life right now, you are tolerating what you should have shut down. You're keeping around people who smile while undercutting you. You're hoping they'll change. They won't. They're betting on your hesitation. The ruthless don't chase applause. They don't explain themselves. They don't ask if the world agrees. They act, and the world adjusts. When someone betrays you, you don't wound them. You finish it. One clean break, one silent goodbye, one consequence so sharp it echoes. That's the difference between people who play the game and people who shape it. You're told to forgive, to be patient, to keep proving you're better. But what if being better just makes you easier to use? What if your moral compass is the exact tool your enemies are using to trap you? They know you won't retaliate. They know you'll hesitate. And that knowledge makes you easy to attack. The powerful don't make threats. They let their reputation do the talking. By the time you realize who you're dealing with, it's already too late. Understand this. Your softness is only respected when it's backed by strength. Otherwise, it's just an opening. You don't have to be vicious, but you have to be willing. People smell limits. They test boundaries. And if you have none, you'll be tested forever. There's a reason empires weren't just built. They were branded. They didn't just conquer land. They told a story while they did it. They framed their violence as virtue, their ambition as duty, and their control as order. And people followed. You keep thinking your actions speak for themselves. They don't. Actions without narrative are silent. But if you speak first, if you shape how the story's told, you decide who's the hero and who's the villain before anyone even sees what happened. You cut someone off? That's not betrayal. That's boundaries. You remove someone disloyal? That's not cruelty. That's justice. You take what you've earned? That's not greed. That's balance restored. Frame it right, and the world will agree with your actions, even when they don't understand them. That's what the powerful know. Controlling perception is more important than controlling facts. You could lose ground and make it look like strategy. You could make your betrayal feel like a favor. It's not about hiding. It's about crafting what others see. The best manipulators don't twist facts. They decide which facts matter. They don't scream. They whisper just loud enough to be overheard. Look at how real power operates. It doesn't need to shout. It's the quiet certainty that you're not to be crossed. That hesitation others feel before challenging you. That's your sword, drawn but sheathed. It's the knowledge that if you act, it will be final. That's what keeps enemies in check. Not your kindness, not your ideals, but your capacity to enforce consequences when lines are crossed. Think of Rome. When they destroyed a rival, they didn't stop at victory. They erased their names, salted their lands, rewrote history so their enemies were forgotten. That wasn't just conquest. That was a message carved into time. This is what happens when you resist us. That's how you must operate in your own life. Not with rage, with precision, not with noise, with results. When someone violates your line, don't lecture, don't bargain. Strike once, so completely no one else ever considers doing the same. And no, this doesn't mean living without mercy. Mercy is a powerful tool, but only when you control the situation. Mercy given too soon, too often, or too easily invites betrayal. Because people test what they don't fear. Your generosity should feel like a privilege, not a guarantee. And your silence should feel like a countdown. The truly dangerous people, they don't look dangerous. They seem calm, even gentle, until it's time to act. Then they move with such speed and certainty that everyone watching rethinks their assumptions. That's the goal. Let others talk. You move. Let others debate. You prepare. Let others hope. You execute. And when you act, don't act for show. Act for outcome. The goal isn't to humiliate your rival. It's to end the threat permanently. This kind of control doesn't come from impulse. It comes from planning. You build leverage slowly, favors owed, secrets held, choices you've made that position you as the one others rely on. Then when someone crosses you, you don't need to scream. You just pull the right string and watch everything shift in your favor. You become untouchable not because you're brutal, but because you make the cost of betrayal unbearable. That's real power, not noise, not drama, just certainty. And once people see that, they'll think twice before crossing you, because they know when you decide to act, it's already too late for them to react. The most powerful people don't try to win every battle. They make sure every battle ends with a message, a memory, a consequence that outlives the moment. This isn't about cruelty, it's about order. You decide what behavior thrives and what behavior dies. That's leadership. That's sovereignty. When people learn that your kindness is a choice, not a weakness, they'll stop testing your limits. They'll adjust. If you've made it this far, you're not just scrolling, you're searching for something deeper. Thanks for trusting me with your mind. If this spoke to you, like the video, hit subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to reclaim their power. Until next time, stay sharp and think deeper.